On Tuesday, Tyler Atkinson commits to Texas on the Pat McAfee Show. Oregon was one of the final four in that recruitment for the five-star linebacker out of the state of Georgia. And then you saw what happened earlier today with Nick Abrams. And now Oregon is kind of sitting there where it's, hey, let's get one of these two linebackers. Let's pair him up with Tristan Phillips. This is most likely a two-linebacker class, and we'll call it a day. But now they're looking palms up and saying, we're empty-handed, and we've still only got Tristan Phillips within this 2026 class. And I kind of wanted to address those misses and the inside linebacker future for Oregon. There are some concerns, but there are also some positives. There are also some silver linings to be able to look at right now. The concern is this. Elite linebacker recruits continue to evade Eugene, Oregon. Okay, Dan Lanning was a linebacker himself. When he was the defensive coordinator at Georgia, they had some studs in the middle of that defense. But this has been a position with Brian Michalowski, and we'll talk more about him as this segment progresses. This has been a position where they just haven't been able to find the guys that they've been able to find in the defensive line. Like, they've been able to find top 50 overall players. They've been able to find an Aiden Breland. They've been able to find an Elijah Rushing. They've been able to find, going back, Mateo Uyunglele. Like, they've been able to find really good players on the defensive line and edge rushers. And then you look at the secondary. I mean, look at the haul that they've had these last couple of years. Like, secondary recruiting is as good as any position group on this roster certainly right now, but the linebacker has not been at that level. I want to talk about exactly where these linebacker prospects have ranked, and it's going to speak to a couple of different points that I think I'm about to make. Now, I'm going to go to the class pre-Lanning, and then the rest of them are Lanning. So the not Dan Lanning class was 2022. They got Devin Jackson, a four-star linebacker. He was number 188 that year. You fast forward to 2023, Devin Jackson, by the way, slated to be a starting linebacker for the Ducks this season. 2023, Jerry Mixon. I'm really excited about Jerry this year. He was a three-star prospect and didn't even crack the top 500 overall players that year. You advance to the 2024 class, you got three guys. Braden Platt, Dylan Williams, Kamar Matudi. Platt was 187. Dylan Williams was 198. Matudi was sitting there at 245. You had Gavin Nix, who a lot of people are excited about, a four-star linebacker who's going to be a true freshman this year, ranked the number 240th overall player according to the industry. They had Nasir Wyatt in that group as well coming out of Mater Dei, but I think he's more likely to maybe be like an outside linebacker, an edge type of guy. And this year in 2026, you got Tristan Phillips, who's sitting there at 188 according to Rivals and 212 according to 24/7. So you notice a little bit of a trend. They've been able to get those like solid to good type of linebacker prospects within this program right now. But I want to be able to say this, first of all. An elite linebacker recruit, or a group of elite linebacker recruits, top 100 players, top 75 players, things like that, it's not required to win the championship. It's not absolutely required to be able to build that type of defense. I think when you look at positions, when you look at guys that are absolutely required to be able to put together a defense that's going to be able to be one of the better defenses in modern college football, pass rushers is something that comes into mind. Look at Ohio State these last couple with Sawyer and Tui Molowau. Look at Penn State. Look at Abdul Carter. I mean, there's a reason that these edge rushers on the recruiting trail are getting paid as much as they are getting paid right now. I mean, we know all about the deal with what happened with Richard Wesley now over there at Texas. I mean, the money that I'm sure was thrown out to a guy like Zion Ely to shut down that recruitment for now. You know my thoughts on that. Anthony Tank Jones is another guy is out there. There's a lot of money getting thrown around. These are extremely valuable football players because when you look at the offensive side of the game, I mean, the way football, not only at the college level, but all throughout has progressed. I mean, this is quarterback driven. The passing game is so important. I mean, you look at if any team out there knows, Okay, how threatening a passing game can be. It's the Oregon Ducks. More on that here in just a little bit. But the defensive line is building a defense from the inside out, I think, is the way to go. Oregon's done really good at being able to recruit that edge rusher, getting after the quarterback, and certainly those interior defensive linemen as well to be able to plug up some of those run lanes, even the run game as well, and create some of that interior pressure. And then you need guys that can cover, right? Circling back to that point I just made about knowing it better than anybody. Look at what happened in the Rose Bowl last year. Look at what happened in the Pac-12 championship against Washington. Oregon couldn't cover. They couldn't cover Jeremiah Smith. They couldn't cover Roma Dunze. They couldn't cover any of those guys. So you need guys that can get after the quarterback, that can plug up the line of scrimmage, and you need guys that can cover. Now, I'm not glancing over the linebacker position. Who cares? It's not important. You get what you get. You still need guys that can move. You still need guys that are agile. You still need guys that don't get their feet stuck in the mud. You need guys that have good vision, that can read a play. Like, you need guys like that. But if you're asking me, do I want to trade off an elite defensive line or an elite secondary for an elite linebacking core? The answer to that is no. The answer to that is no. And maybe that's the way Oregon is approaching this as well. It says we need these two groups to be at an elite level to contend for that national championship, to put a deep defense together that can be a part of a national championship winning team right now. Now, the second part of this. Hey, maybe Brian Michalowski, the inside linebackers coach, is his recruiting chops maybe not up to where like Tony Tuioti on the defensive line or certainly Chris Hampton is? Yeah, maybe not. And maybe that's a little bit of concern if they want to get that type of athlete, they want to get that type of player. But where Brian Michalowski really excels is the development. I mean, look at Bryce Betcher, for God's sakes. Look at the jump that he made last year. PFF has him as the top returning Big Ten linebacker for this season. B-Mike deserves a ton of credit for that. Look at Jeffrey Bassa is another example, turning him into an NFL draft pick as well. And you know what else speaks to that? You know what else speaks to the confidence in Brian Michalowski's ability to be able to develop these guys, all those guys that I mentioned, all of these recruits still on the roster. Dan Lanning, after the spring game, says, we're not going into the transfer portal for a linebacker because we believe in the guys that we've been able to bring into this room. We believe in Brian Michalowski's ability to develop because he's been, now I know he hasn't been here for a ton of time. Was last year, I think maybe his first year as the position coach, second year, I think it was his first year as the position coach as well. But you kind of look at these guys and the jumps that they have been able to make. And then you look at these types of players that are being brought in. I think you're going to continue to be able to see that. So Dan's confidence equals my confidence in the linebacker future right now. I think there are good players in this room. Can they be great players? I think that remains to be seen. But I think we've seen, like, look at Devin Jackson. Devin Jackson, I think this year, we know pound for pound, maybe one of the fastest guys in this football team. Devin Jackson is poised to really have a big year. All conference year, I don't know if I'm quite ready to be able to go there, but you've seen, maybe it hasn't been giant steps, but you've seen the steps that have been made at the linebacker position. And there's still many steps to go. There's still many steps to climb at the linebacker position as compared to maybe what's going on at the defensive line, what's going on in the secondary, that sheer talent level that we certainly talked a lot about before. So I think Brian Michalowski is maybe one of the best developers when it comes to an assistant coach on this coaching staff right now. And I think one of my biggest takeaways from spring ball was the aforementioned comment that I just talked about. Dan Lanning saying, we're not going to the portal. And Brian Michalowski kind of following up on that comment saying, that means that we're not doing our job. We believe that we're doing our job. We believe in this room. If they believe in the room, I certainly believe in the room as well. So although it might be a little bit concerning that they're not getting that elite type of player, I think they're going after the type of defensive players at that elite level, the top 50, top 60 overall players that they need to be able to build the important parts of their defense, and the development aspect from B-Mike and this staff, I think, will have the linebacker room continue to improve. It would be nice certainly one of these recruiting cycles, and maybe they can pull it off with a flip or something a little bit later on. It would be nice to certainly be able to elevate that talent in the linebacker room as well.